The courtroom was electric. Flashbulbs popped like fireworks, blinding bursts of light capturing every tense expression, every nervous glance. Stevie J's lawyer stood tall, papers in hand, confidence radiating off him like a shield. The entire room leaned in as he uttered the words that would tear through Scrappy's world like a blade. The pregnancy never existed. She made it all up. A collective gasp swept across the room. Scrappy's face drained of color, his reality cracking apart right there, under the gaze of the judge, the press, and millions watching through the media's lens. 1 second, Bambi sat with tears glistening beneath her heavy lashes, playing her part perfectly. The next, her carefully crafted story was being ripped apart, document by document, lie by lie. There were fake ultrasound images, fraudulent clinic visits, even a fabricated doctor's signature. Scrappy stood motionless, frozen in a nightmare he couldn't wake from, as the judge flipped through the pile of forged evidence like it was nothing more than tabloid trash. His breathing grew shallow, his chest rising and falling like waves in a violent storm. Then the lawyer delivered the blow that would echo far beyond that courtroom. This was never about love. It was about control. And in that instant, Scrappy's legs gave out beneath him. His body crumbled to the floor as though his soul had abandoned him first. The press captured every second, cameras zooming in as paramedics rushed forward. Voices screamed in the chaos, but one voice sliced through it like a dagger. She faked a baby just to win the case. The whispers hadn't even settled before they caught fire, spreading like wildfire across every corner of the internet. Twitter threads exploded. TikToks were filmed in real time. The internet was alive, feeding on every second of the madness unfolding in that courthouse. Bambi sat stiff, face carefully arranged, lips pressed into a thin, calculated line. But beneath the thick lashes and heavy courtroom makeup, her eyes darted desperately, scanning for a way out of the storm she had created. It was never supposed to go this far. She was supposed to shed a few tears, whisper about complications, and walk away with sympathy. She had even posted a now-deleted Instagram story with a simple, haunting caption, "Doing this for my baby." Public sympathy had been overwhelming. Scrappy had stayed silent, confused, and broken. Stevie J, however, had remained quiet for an entirely different reason, because Stevie J was waiting for this moment. For weeks, his legal team had been digging. They didn't want rumors, they wanted receipts, and now they had them. The courtroom was silent as Stevie J's lawyer handed a sealed folder to the judge, requesting it be entered into official record. Inside was a brutal dissection of Bambi's lie. The clinic she claimed to visit? Closed permanently since 2020. The ultrasound image? Ripped from a free pregnancy app? The OBGYN whose signature graced her file? Retired years ago, his farewell plastered all over social media. Even her appointment log contained a misspelled version of her own name. The judge's eyes narrowed as he flipped page after page, the truth bleeding from every sheet. Scrappy sat trembling, as if hit by a freight train that refused to stop. Bambi's lawyer tried to object. "This isn't relevant, Your Honor." But the judge silenced him instantly. If a pregnancy was used to influence testimony or decision-making, it is absolutely relevant. Stevie J leaned back in his ER chair, exhaling for the first time in weeks. The courtroom shifted. Respect was replacing skepticism. People who once rolled their eyes at Stevie's smugness now saw something else. Precision, strategy, dominance. For months, whispers had hinted at Bambi's manipulations, using emotions, playing victim, staging drama. But no one had proof. Not until now. When Stevie J's lawyer declared, "Your Honor, this pregnancy never existed," the room cracked open. Pens dropped. Gasps filled the air, and Scrappy rose slowly from his seat, staring at Bambi like she was a stranger wearing his wife's face. "Tell me it's not true," he whispered, his voice shaking but loud enough for the microphones to capture every devastating syllable. Bambi sat frozen, silent. And then Scrappy collapsed again. Harder this time. His body convulsed as paramedics rushed back in. The cameras kept rolling. The world watched. Bambi's eyes widened as reality spun out of her control. Behind the scenes, this wasn't random. Stevie J's team had been surgical. They hired private investigators, tracked down clinic staff, pulled metadata from the ultrasound image, metadata, that revealed it had appeared on 3 different pregnancy blogs back in 2017. They even brought in a handwriting analyst who confirmed the forged doctor's signature. This wasn't gossip. This was methodical warfare, and Mona Scott Young, the executive producer of Love and Hip Hop, was watching everything unfold on a private live stream. Her phone buzzed with messages from VH1 staffers. "This is our scandal moment times 10, one text read. And they were right. This wasn't just betrayal. This was a masterclass in deception, a reality TV villain arc unfolding in real time. But for Scrappy, it wasn't entertainment. This was his life disintegrating. Then came the bombshell no one anticipated, a new witness list. Right after Scrappy was taken out on a stretcher, the court was informed that an unexpected name had been added, a former assistant of Bambi'S, a woman who allegedly helped orchestrate the entire scheme. The door swung open, and in walked the assistant. Dressed in black, heels clicking against the marble floor like a ticking clock. She took the stand, her face steady, her voice calm. "I helped her," she said. Gasps filled the courtroom. She detailed how Bambi concocted the pregnancy scheme to win sympathy, how she staged clinic visits, forged emails, and even rehearsed how to hold her stomach in court to appear more fragile. The assistant confessed to printing out fake documents, booking fake appointments, and photoshopping ultrasound images. Bambi sat motionless. Her lawyer leapt up. "Objection, hearsay!" But the judge snapped, "Sit down. You're lucky I haven't held your entire team in contempt." For 30 long minutes, the assistant laid it all bare. She exposed how Bambi coordinated with a friend at a print shop to forge medical records and hired someone off Fiverr to replicate clinic watermarks. The courtroom was stunned. It wasn't just fraud, it was theater. Social media detonated. The hashtag #ThasherFakeBabyGate trended within minutes. Memes, reaction videos, TikToks, an avalanche of content flooded every platform. One viral post read, "This is love and hip-hop on steroids." Even celebrities chimed in. K. Michelle tweeted, "Y'all really out here weaponizing motherhood? Tragic?" And Mama D? She went live from the courthouse steps, flames practically shooting from her mouth. "This is what I've been saying. That woman is a snake in a Gucci wig, and now the world sees it." But inside the courtroom, things were far from over. The assistant dropped another bombshell. Bambi allegedly planned to stage a miscarriage at her next court hearing using a fake doctor's note she purchased off the dark web for $400. The assistant broke down, tears pooling in her eyes. "I couldn't go through with it. Scrappy didn't deserve this." For the first time since the hearing began, Bambi finally spoke. Her voice cracked as she leaned into the microphone. "You think I'm the only one faking? Stevie's whole career is fake. His relationships, his money, his lies. He's been playing this game for years, but when a woman tries to protect herself, she's the villain?" The judge stared at her, unflinching. "Protect yourself? By forging documents? By inventing a child? You don't know what I've been through," Bambi snapped, tears streaming now. "No," the judge replied coldly, "but I know what you've just done." The entire courtroom fell into an eerie silence. The quote became an instant viral soundbite. And then, like a scene ripped straight out of a crime drama, a man in a navy suit stood up in the back row. He was from Child Protective Services. His presence alone shifted the courtroom's energy from scandalous to criminal. Because now, Bambi's custody of her 2 children with Scrappy was under immediate review. Emergency motions were filed. Home inspections ordered. Therapist evaluations scheduled. The court no longer viewed Bambi as just manipulative. Now, she was dangerous. One CPS insider later said, "This isn't just bad judgment. This is psychological warfare." Scrappy remained hospitalized, silent, broken. His sister told local media, "He's hurt beyond words." This wasn't betrayal. It was strategic cruelty. Outside, the chaos boiled over. Media vans crowded the streets. Reporters shouted. A camera crew climbed the courthouse stairs for better shots of Scrappy being wheeled into an ambulance. And Stevie J? He was just getting started. His legal team requested that all court footage be released to public domain. The world deserves to see what lies look like when the mask falls off. As Bambi walked out of court, flanked by 2 officers, not yet arrested but very much under surveillance, her assistant had already begun cooperating with authorities. The judge was preparing to submit evidence to the district attorney. And what started as petty drama was quickly turning into felony-level fraud. Stevie J's team filed a formal fraud investigation. Scrappy's lawyers pushed for a restraining order. And behind the scenes, VH1 producers started prepping what they hoped would become the biggest reality TV event in their network's history, a special 2-part series titled The Lie That Broke Atlanta. But what no one expected was that this scandal hadn't even reached its peak yet. The courtroom that had already witnessed chaos was now entering dangerous, uncharted waters. The press hadn't even finished spinning their breaking news headlines before the district attorney's office got involved. What once looked like a dramatic custody battle had officially crossed into full-blown criminal prosecution. The district attorney's file arrived faster than anyone anticipated. The judge opened it, scanned the first few pages, then calmly uttered 6 words that detonated through the room like a bomb: "Put Ms. Bambi in handcuffs." Gasps rang out, loud enough to shake the walls. Cameras flashed. The bailiff stepped forward, cuffs glinting under the fluorescent lights. And Bambi? She didn't fight. She didn't scream. She simply lowered her head, hands trembling as cold, steel wrapped around her wrists. Reality was catching up, and it was merciless. The footage of Bambi being escorted out in cuffs went viral before she even left the courthouse. Headlines screamed, "Bambi arrested, fake pregnancy scandal explodes." Memes flooded every corner of the internet. Comment sections filled with reactions ranging from disbelief to ruthless mockery. But behind the viral content, prosecutors weren't done yet. The DA's office announced they were investigating not just Bambi, but everyone who might have participated, including her assistant, any third-party accomplices, and even production staff who may have known about the fraud but remained silent for ratings. Because now the question wasn't just, did Bambi fake a pregnancy? It was, who helped her, who enabled her, and who profited from it. Meanwhile, Scrappy had finally been discharged from the hospital. But those close to him said he still hadn't spoken a word directly about the betrayal. His legal team, however, moved swiftly. Within hours of Bambi's arrest, they filed a civil lawsuit for emotional damages. This wasn't just about public humiliation. It was about years of psychological warfare, lies, and manipulation that shattered Scrappy's trust, his family, and his reputation. The lawsuit named not only Bambi, but potentially implicated third parties who had enabled or covered up her actions. That meant even VH1's production teams were now under scrutiny. Love and hip-hop executives were served subpoenas requesting every email, every text, every unreleased scene, and every behind-the-scenes message that discussed Bambi's alleged pregnancy. Because if producers had any knowledge that the pregnancy was fabricated while continuing to film it as real drama for ratings, it wouldn't just be scandalous. It would be criminal conspiracy. VH1's executives scrambled behind the scenes, legal teams assembled overnight, crisis PR firms were hired. Damage control wasn't just a priority, it was a war room operation. But the leaks kept coming. A whistleblower emerged, someone tied to Bambi's inner circle, releasing a voicemail that would send shockwaves through both the legal world and reality TV industry. In that message, Bambi could be heard saying, "If this fake baby thing works, I'll finally be free from Scrappy for good." The recording went viral instantly. Screenshots, reaction videos, hashtags. The internet devoured it. But more importantly, it was now evidence. The DA swiftly moved to upgrade charges, adding potential conspiracy to commit fraud, obstruction of justice, and interference with custody. Bail was denied. The judge was clear. When a person lies to the court once, it's a mistake. When they do it repeatedly, with planning and precision, it's a crime. That quote itself became another viral sensation. Posted, shared, memed under every celebrity gossip page for days. Now sitting behind bars, Bambi no longer had makeup, filters, or designer heels. Just a jumpsuit and a cold concrete wall. The reality TV queen had fallen. But the investigation wasn't finished. Scrappy's lawyers had uncovered even more damning evidence buried inside Love and Hip Hop's production servers: deleted footage, text messages, cast group chats, and private conversations between producers, discussing whether to let the storyline ride or intervene when suspicions about Bambi's pregnancy first surfaced. One producer allegedly texted, "She's gone too far, but this is good TV." If proven true, VH1 could now be facing charges for aiding and suppressing evidence or encouraging fraudulent conduct for financial gain. And it didn't stop there. The assistant who initially came forward was now fully cooperating with investigators. She confessed to even more disturbing details: the purchase of burner phones used to create fake clinic confirmations, offshore accounts used to funnel hush payments, and offers made to staff members who hesitated to participate in the scheme. This was no longer petty relationship drama. It was criminal enterprise. At this point, the FBI's white-collar crime unit reportedly began observing the case, as multiple federal statutes might have been violated given the forged interstate communications and fraudulent digital transactions. Scrappy's team submitted a motion for full production audits, demanding not only Bambi's financials but also VH1's internal revenue tied directly to the pregnancy storyline. Because if the network knowingly capitalized on falsified drama, they too could be held liable for profiting off real-life fraud. Inside the courtroom, the energy had shifted into something darker, a blend of celebrity trial and federal investigation. Meanwhile, Stevie J couldn't resist celebrating his legal victories. He popped champagne on Instagram Live, captioning his video, "When the truth wins, I celebrate. No more lies." The internet exploded. His following surged. Public support grew louder as fans rallied behind him, praising his patience and calculated strike. But even Stevie knew this saga was far from over. Behind closed doors, Scrappy's legal team uncovered something even more devastating: evidence that Bambi's previous legal filings, custody requests, emergency protection orders, and financial support claims were all submitted using falsified medical conditions tied to her fake pregnancy. In simple terms, every lie she told didn't just manipulate one hearing, it infected multiple court filings, dozens of documents, and thousands of legal man-hours. The web was deeper than anyone imagined. The judge, after reviewing this avalanche of new evidence, ordered a full forensic audit of Bambi's last 2 years of court submissions. Every custody hearing, every protective order, every financial affidavit, now under the microscope. When the results returned weeks later, they were damning. At least 7 separate filings contained provable forgeries. Multiple forged doctor's notes, entire fabricated medical histories, and digital footprints tying the fraudulent emails directly back to Bambi's IP address. The courtroom erupted yet again as the prosecution laid out the findings. This wasn't a momentary lapse of judgment. This was premeditated, organized fraud, executed over months. The judge declared, "This court no longer considers Ms. Bambi a reliable narrator of her own life." In that one statement, the last of Bambi's credibility disintegrated. And worse, her parental rights were now fully suspended, pending permanent custody evaluations. Child Protective Services began immediate intervention protocols. Bambi's children were placed under temporary guardianship while psychological evaluations commenced, ensuring they had not been exposed to emotional harm during their mother's manipulative schemes. One CPS investigator was quoted off record saying, "She didn't just risk her kids' safety, she weaponized them." As the case spiraled further, attention turned to the production company behind Love and Hip Hop. Subpoenas were issued to multiple high-ranking producers, forcing them to testify whether they had knowledge of the fraud as it unfolded. During sworn testimony, shocking transcripts revealed that internal concerns were raised months before the court hearing, but were deliberately dismissed for the sake of good TV. One producer stated, "I told them something felt off, but they said to let it play out. It would boost ratings." The public backlash against VH1 was immediate. Sponsors pulled advertising, parent companies distanced themselves, even longtime cast members began speaking out, claiming the producers fostered toxic environments where truth was optional if drama delivered views. And then, the final nail arrived. A second whistleblower leaked unreleased footage captured during behind-the-scenes filming. In it, Bambi privately admitted to a crew member, "As long as I win custody, nobody will care how I did it." That clip spread like wildfire, destroying any remaining public sympathy she might have had. By now, Bambi faced a laundry list of charges: multiple counts of perjury, obstruction of justice, conspiracy to defraud, evidence tampering, falsifying medical records, and interference with custody. The district attorney was reportedly considering offering plea deals to anyone else involved in exchange for full cooperation, including assistants, producers, and any third-party enablers. VH1's legal team negotiated, furiously behind the scenes to avoid full criminal exposure, while simultaneously preparing massive legal settlements for Scrappy and other impacted parties. And Scrappy? For the first time in months, he finally addressed the public. Standing beside his attorney, he calmly stated, "I trusted someone who didn't just break my heart. She tried to destroy my family. But the truth fought back. And now, I can finally breathe." His voice cracked, but he stood firm. The courtroom. Saga that began with tears and lies had transformed into one of the most explosive legal scandals reality television had ever seen. The headlines were relentless. Reality star implodes in pregnancy fraud scheme. VH1 under fire as courtroom. Bombshells detonate. Custody fraud sparks federal investigation. As the dust settled, producers confirmed VH1 would release a multi-part docuseries titled Love, Lies, and Lawsuits: The Fall of Bambi, featuring never-before-seen footage, courtroom clips, interviews, and behind-the-scenes breakdowns of how one woman's lie spiraled into national scandal. But for Bambi, the show was over. Her legal team attempted one final Hail Mary, a tearful plea for leniency, blaming fame, pressure, toxic relationships, and mental health struggles. But the judge was unmoved. In his final sentencing, he delivered a statement that instantly became immortalized online. "You didn't just lie. You built an empire on deception, and when the truth came knocking, you doubled down. This wasn't a mistake. This was a masterpiece of manipulation." Bambi was sentenced to serve time in federal prison, her parental rights fully terminated. Civil judgments filed against her for emotional damages, financial fraud, and legal misconduct. VH1's production company reached massive settlements with Scrappy and additional cast members who suffered from the fallout. As Bambi sat inside her prison cell, stripped of her public persona, her fame, and her carefully curated life, the cameras that once adored her were now permanently shut off. Her fall wasn't just another love and hip-hop scandal. It became the cautionary tale of how far people are, willing to go when love turns into war and fame turns into poison. And as the world moved on, one haunting question remained. Was it ever about the baby? Or was it always about control? Because in the end, the truth didn't just fight back. The truth won.